People often say that men are simple, but the truth is far more complicated. Their silence hides countless unspoken emotions and unexpressed needs. Behind the strong image they show and the calm they try to maintain, every man carries a quiet desire deep inside him. It's not about wanting control or victory. It's about wanting to be seen, trusted, and chosen in the deepest way possible. From the time he is a boy, a man is taught that being strong means keeping his feelings hidden. Society tells him that showing emotion makes him weak, that tears are shameful, and that his value comes from control and composure. So he starts building invisible walls inside himself, walls made of logic, ambition, and discipline, until even he forgets what's behind them. But beneath all of that lies an emotional world as deep, delicate, and complex as any heart could hold. Within that quiet, hidden world, a man's deepest relationship need begins to form, the need to feel emotionally safe, not just understood through logic or words, but felt in his core. He wants to be known in a way that reaches beyond the surface, into the places where he hides his fears, his insecurities, and his wish to be accepted without being judged. Most men never say this out loud, not because they don't feel it, but because they don't have the words for it. Instead, they might pull away or grow distant. They might show frustration or go silent. But that silence isn't indifference, it's fear. Fear that if they show what they really feel, it might be turned against them. Fear that if they take off their emotional armor, they'll lose respect. Fear that if they show their cracks, the woman they love will stop seeing them as strong and start seeing them as weak. What a man truly wants, though he might never admit it, is a safe place where he can let down his guard without losing love, a connection where he doesn't have to perform or prove his strength, where his emotions don't need to be explained or fixed, but can simply be. When a woman gives him that kind of space, when she listens without rushing to correct, without analyzing or judging, something inside him begins to change. The energy that was locked behind walls starts to move freely. He becomes gentler, more open, more present. But when that safe space disappears, when he feels interrogated, dismissed, or judged for being quiet or sensitive, he pulls back even more. He might still laugh, still work, still show up, but deep down, he becomes emotionally absent, living like a shadow in his own relationship. This emotional distance doesn't come from pride, it comes from survival. Each time a man feels emotionally unsafe, he returns to the one place he was taught he could trust completely: solitude. A man's inner emotional world isn't simple, it's full of contradictions. He might crave closeness but fear dependence. He might want to speak but not know how. He might yearn for comfort but avoid it because true comfort requires letting go. That's why emotional safety isn't built through words alone, it's built through presence. When a woman looks at him with understanding instead of blame, when she allows quiet moments without assuming the worst, she sends a message deeper than love itself. She tells him, through her calm presence, "You are safe here." In that acceptance, his heart begins to trust again. He learns that he can be both strong and gentle, both a protector and someone who also needs care. Many relationships don't fall apart because love disappears. They fall apart because emotional safety does. A man who doesn't feel safe to feel will eventually stop feeling altogether. He might stay physically, but emotionally, he'll live behind invisible armor. He'll give affection through habit rather than devotion. His partner might sense that distance and mistake it for indifference or lack of love. But what she's really sensing is his protection, his shield, built from years of being told that showing emotion is dangerous. What he truly needs isn't someone to tear down that shield by force, but someone patient enough to show him he doesn't need it anymore. To truly love a man is to understand that his silence often hides a lifetime of unspoken feelings. Making him feel safe doesn't mean pushing him to talk more. It means letting him know that whether he speaks or not, he won't lose your respect. When he feels that kind of safety, he begins to open, not as someone trying to perform love, but as someone finally remembering what love feels like. At the core of every man's spirit lives a quiet desire, the longing to be admired by the woman he loves. Not admired for what he owns or what he provides, but for who he becomes when he is with her. When a man feels genuine admiration, something powerful awakens within him. It's not about feeding his ego, it's about feeding his soul. He needs to feel that the effort he gives, the strength he carries, and the dreams he chases are seen and appreciated. For him, admiration is like oxygen. It keeps him alive emotionally. It tells him that what he does matters, that his presence makes a difference, that his contribution is noticed. But in many relationships, this deep need is often overlooked. Instead of admiration, he receives correction, criticism, or control disguised as care. And when admiration fades away, a man begins to shrink inside, not because he stopped loving, but because he no longer feels valued. Most men live in a constant tension between self-doubt and the image of confidence they try to maintain. On the outside, he might look sure of himself, strong, capable, decisive. But inside, he's quietly asking, "Am I enough?" When the woman beside him believes in him, when she speaks to his strengths and his potential, she becomes the mirror that reflects his best self back to him. But when she only points out his flaws, his mistakes, or what he hasn't done right, that mirror becomes harsh and cold. His energy begins to fade, and he starts to pull away, not out of anger, but out of protection. A man's motivation doesn't come from fear of losing love. It comes from feeling that he inspires love. When he feels admired, he naturally rises higher. When he feels controlled or doubted, he turns inward, withdrawing into silence, not to punish her, but to protect what's left of his sense of worth. To truly admire a man doesn't mean to flatter him or offer empty praise. Real admiration comes from seeing and recognizing his effort, even when the outcome isn't perfect. It's noticing the intention behind his actions, the integrity beneath his decisions, even when things don't go as planned. It's seeing that under his mistakes there's always care. When a woman can recognize that truth, she reaches something sacred in him. He no longer feels he has to earn her approval by performing. He feels inspired to give more naturally, not out of fear, but out of devotion. When men don't receive admiration, they slowly start to doubt their own worth. They may become distant, defensive, or easily irritated. These reactions aren't just anger, they're signs of an unhealed wound, the pain of feeling unseen. A man's heart cannot thrive in constant correction. It blossoms in appreciation. The difference between the two is small, but powerful. Correction says, "You're not enough yet." Admiration says, "I already see the good in you." When a man feels admired, his sense of purpose grows. He becomes more protective, more caring, more generous, not because he's trying to earn love, but because he feels the flow of respect and trust coming from the woman he loves. In today's world, many women confuse admiration with submission. They fear that admiring a man somehow means lowering themselves. But in truth, admiration isn't about giving up power. It's about giving recognition to someone who values you just as deeply. But genuine admiration is never a sign of surrender. It is a quiet act of empowerment. It feeds the masculine just as tenderness feeds the feminine. When a man feels truly admired, his need for control fades. His strength relaxes. He stops trying to prove himself and starts giving from a place of real care. Admiration, when felt deeply, wakes up what many call the hero instinct, not the shallow idea of wanting to be worshipped, but the deeper drive to serve love with purpose. To admire a man means believing in him, especially in moments when he cannot believe in himself. It is reminding him that his presence matters, that his effort has meaning even when the outcome is uncertain. When that kind of energy flows between two hearts, love becomes a graceful dance instead of a struggle for control. A man's desire for admiration is not arrogance. It is his way of knowing that he is still valued, still trusted, and still capable of giving his heart without fear. For a man, love and respect are forever linked. While affection warms his spirit, it is respect that gives him identity. Deep inside, every man holds a need to be trusted, to feel that the woman beside him believes in his judgment, his abilities, and his intentions, even when life becomes difficult. Respect is not about power or dominance. It is about emotional acknowledgement. It tells him that his opinions have meaning, that his efforts carry weight, that he is valued not just for what he provides, but for who he is. When a man feels respected, he stands taller, not from ego, but from peace. He feels safe enough to love more deeply because his essence is honored, not reduced. Many women misunderstand this truth, assuming that love alone should be enough. But for a man, love without respect feels hollow. He might hear loving words, but if those words are followed by constant criticism, correction, or doubt, something inside him begins to close. What he truly wants is not blind agreement, but faith in who he is becoming. When a woman questions every choice he makes, compares him to others, or uses his mistakes as evidence of weakness, it wounds him at the level of identity. A man can recover from failure, but disrespect from the person he loves most cuts deeper than any loss. To respect a man is to give him room to lead, to try, and even to fail without humiliation. It is to trust his direction while standing beside him as a partner, not a competitor. When a woman speaks to him with faith and says, "I know you'll find a way," she gives him something no success could ever replace, the assurance that he is enough. That single gesture of trust can light up his drive, rebuild his confidence, and deepen his commitment. But when she constantly corrects, belittles, or doubts him, even out of concern, it sends a quiet message that she doesn't believe he's capable. Over time, he withdraws, not because he stops loving her, but because he starts to feel unnecessary. To the masculine heart, respect equals emotional safety. It tells him that he can bring his full self into the relationship without being judged as inadequate. When a man feels that kind of safety, he naturally opens up. He becomes more attentive, more protective, and more giving. He listens, he communicates, he invests himself fully, because the energy of respect allows him to rest in his role as a man. But when respect is missing, he feels emotionally cornered. The more he tries to speak, the more misunderstood he feels, until silence becomes his only defense. That silence is not indifference. It's his quiet way of protecting what's left of his self-worth. In relationships where respect flows both ways, love evolves into something stronger. It stops being about control and becomes about cooperation. The woman feels cherished because the man feels trusted. The man becomes more emotionally expressive because he no longer fears that showing vulnerability will cost him dignity. This mutual exchange creates balance, the masculine rooted in purpose, the feminine anchored in trust. This is the dance of mutual respect that turns ordinary love into sacred connection. A man's need for respect doesn't come from dominance, it comes from devotion. When he feels respected, he naturally wants to protect, to provide, and to serve love with his whole being. He wants to make the woman he loves proud, not for validation, but because her belief in him gives him strength. The deepest loyalty a man offers doesn't come from being loved passionately, it comes from being respected completely. To respect him is to give him space to stand in his truth. And within that space, his love becomes steady, fierce, and lasting. There is a subtle but powerful difference between being needed and being chosen, And every man feels that difference deep in his soul. Being needed might flatter his pride for a moment, but being chosen touches something sacred inside him. It affirms his worth not as a function, but as a person. Many men stay in relationships where they are appreciated for what they do, for the security or support they provide, yet still feel an emptiness that affection alone cannot fill. That emptiness comes from the absence of genuine desire. What a man truly longs for is not to be someone's safety net, but someone's choice. He wants to feel that among all possibilities, he is the one who is wanted, not just kept. When a man senses that he is only valued for what he offers, something within him slowly fades. He may keep showing up, doing his duties, fulfilling responsibilities, but the spark that once made his love vibrant begins to dim. His giving turns into obligation. His affection becomes routine. For a man to open his heart fully, he must feel that his partner's love is not born out of dependence, but out of genuine choice. When he knows he is desired not for what he provides, but for who he is, his entire energy shifts. He becomes more passionate, more alive, more emotionally present because he feels seen as a person, not a provider. Many women, often without realizing it, express love through dependence. They say they need a man to feel safe, to feel whole, to feel complete. While the intention is sweet, to a man it can sometimes feel heavy, as if his value depends entirely on holding her world together. He doesn't want to be the reason she survives. He wants to be the reason she smiles. When she says, "I choose you," not because she has to, but because she wants to, she gives him something rare. Freedom inside commitment. That freedom tells him his value isn't conditional. It's continually renewed by choice. The longing to be chosen ties deeply to a man's sense of individuality. From childhood, he's taught to earn love through achievement, to prove his worth through performance. But what he truly craves is the experience of being loved without needing to earn it. When a woman sees his flaws and still prefers him, when she embraces his imperfections without trying to fix him, she becomes his peace. In her presence, he doesn't feel judged or measured. He feels understood. That is the kind of love that makes him loyal beyond reason, not dependence, but devotion, born from being truly desired. A man who feels chosen gives himself in ways a man who feels merely needed never can. He becomes generous with his time, his affection, his attention, not because he must, but because he genuinely wants to. His giving flows naturally from security. When he feels chosen, his fears of inadequacy start to disappear. He no longer strives to prove his worth, he simply lives it. And when love between two people reaches this level, it transforms. It's no longer about possession, it becomes about presence. Both partners remain not because they have to, but because they continue to choose each other day after day in the quiet truth of their hearts. For a man to be truly chosen is to be seen for who he is, not just for what he gives or achieves. It is the gentle knowing that love is not something earned through effort, but something felt through essence. When he feels this kind of love, his heart begins to soften. The walls he once built from pride and fear slowly fade. He opens up, trusts more deeply, and gives the most hidden parts of himself, because he finally knows he is loved not for his performance, but for his presence. For many men, love isn't measured by how passionate or fiery it feels, but by how calm and peaceful it becomes. Passion may light the beginning, but what keeps his soul steady is something softer, a peace that feels like home. To him, love is not just fire, it is rest, a quiet space where his heart can breathe. A man spends his days walking through battles most people never see. He fights to prove himself, to carry his burdens, to meet endless expectations. And when he returns to the one he loves, he doesn't want more fighting or testing. He doesn't crave chaos or emotional storms. What he seeks is sanctuary, a place where his heart can finally rest. What he longs for most is peace, not the dull kind that comes from distance, but the living peace that comes from understanding. A space where he can speak without being judged, where he can simply exist without being measured. This longing is often misunderstood. Many think that when a man wants silence or space, he's being cold or detached. But what he truly desires is balance, a steady flow of emotions that feel safe, not wild. He wants love that feels gentle, where understanding replaces blame and where quiet moments are not seen as distance but as healing. When a man loves deeply, his silence is rarely emptiness. It's how he processes, how he finds his center again in a world that demands constant motion. When a woman can sit with that silence, when she doesn't force words or turn the pause into a problem, she becomes the calm he has been searching for. The world today glorifies passion, the chase, the spark, the intensity. But what many forget is that for a man, fire without peace becomes tiring. He can battle through the world all day, but he cannot keep battling at home. If love becomes another place of conflict, he begins to shut down. Not because he no longer cares, but because his heart can't survive constant strain. He doesn't need endless excitement to feel alive. He needs stillness to feel safe. In that stillness, his heart grows softer, his patience deepens, his affection expands. Peace gives him the energy to love more, not less. When a woman brings peace, she isn't being weak. She is powerful in a way that steadies everything around her. Her calm becomes his anchor. Her gentleness tells him he doesn't need to prove anything to be loved. When she speaks with kindness instead of anger, listens instead of competing, forgives instead of keeping score, she disarms the part of him that lives in survival mode. Something changes between them. The tension turns into trust. He starts to open up on his own. He reaches out more because he feels the difference between being tolerated and being truly welcomed. And in that peace, he doesn't lose his masculinity. He rediscovers it. Many men have been taught to believe that love must be filled with drama to be real. That struggle proves passion. But deep down, they want the opposite. A love that feels like quiet confidence, like soft laughter, like a steady touch after a hard day. They crave a woman who calms their chaos instead of feeding it. For a man, peace is not dullness, it is safety. It is knowing that no matter what storms rage outside, there is calm waiting within. And when he finds that peace, he treasures it more than anything. He guards it. He becomes more loyal, more focused, more devoted, because he knows how rare it is. Peace allows love to grow roots instead of just wings. It lets love sink deeper instead of burning out too fast. In that peace, his heart stops racing to prove and starts resting to connect. That's when love becomes something lasting. Not just passion that burns, but presence that stays. Inside every man lives a silent battle between two forces, the strength he shows to the world and the softness he hides inside. On the outside, he seems steady, confident, and strong. But behind that, there is a quieter heart that feels deeply, fears rejection, and hopes to be understood. Society teaches him to lead, to protect, to stay firm. But no man is made of only armor. Beneath every confident move, there is a tender heart wanting to be seen without judgment. This struggle between power and vulnerability shapes most of his emotional life. From a young age, he learns to split himself in two. One side becomes the protector, the achiever, the one who carries the load. The other side stays hidden, where his doubts, dreams, and tenderness live. The world praises his strength but rarely comforts his softness. When he falls, people tell him to get up. When he hurts, they tell him to stay silent. Over time, he begins to believe that to be loved, he must always be unbreakable. But that belief becomes a prison, because what he really wants is a love where he can finally lay down his armor, a space where his gentleness isn't weakness, but truth. When a man finds a woman who can see both sides of him, the warrior and the child, something changes. He stops performing and starts being real. He begins to speak honestly, not through grand gestures, but through presence. She becomes his safe ground, the space where his strength and tenderness can coexist. With her, he learns he doesn't have to choose. He can be both fierce and gentle, both logical and emotional, both protector and dreamer. And in that balance, he becomes whole. Many relationships struggle because there's no room for a man's softer side. When his vulnerability is met with criticism or impatience, he hides deeper behind control. He convinces himself that staying distant is safer than being misunderstood. But that distance is not a lack of love, it's a fear of rejection. What he needs most is love that lets him be fragile without losing respect. When a woman meets that hidden part of him with tenderness instead of judgment, she awakens something sacred, the part of him that feels safe enough to be real. True connection happens when a man's strength is honored, but his softness is also accepted. When he feels safe in both, his love grows beyond measure. He becomes more caring, more patient, more emotionally open, because he no longer hides behind a mask. The woman who understands this doesn't try to change him. She helps him unite his two sides. She becomes the mirror that shows him his humanity is what makes him strong, not just his armor, but his heart beneath it. Every man carries a boy inside him, a boy who once wanted to be loved simply for existing. When that boy is allowed to breathe again, love changes. It stops being about proving worth and becomes about presence. His strength then comes not from control, but from openness. He loves with quiet confidence, protects with tenderness, and stands not in perfection, but in wholeness, as both the shield and the soul behind it. In the end, every man seeks not perfection, but peace. Not admiration built on illusion, but acceptance grounded in truth. Beneath pride, logic, and silence lives a heart longing to be seen, not as a provider or a role, but as a soul. His deepest needs are not grand, they are human. He wants to feel safe enough to open his emotions without fear, respected enough to know his voice matters, appreciated enough to believe his efforts are seen, and chosen not for what he gives, but for who he is. When he finds that kind of peace, that rare love where he can rest and still be strong, something shifts forever. He no longer just stays, he belongs.